We've already kicked off the meeting, so I just want to go ahead and welcome everyone to the Horse Illustrated webinar series. This is actually our very first installment, and we're very lucky to have Steffen and Shannon Peters as our very first guests. And thank you guys so much for joining us. We're so happy to have you on. My name is Mary Cage. I am the digital manager here at Horse Illustrated. And then, of course, we have Jenny Van Weerenpage here, and she's a member of our sales team. And she knows Steffen and Shannon quite well from her years at US Equestrian as a managing director of dressage. So big thanks to Jenny for being here as well. Obviously, I don't think Steffen and Shannon need too much of an introduction. We're all obviously here for a reason, but very well-known couple in the dressage world. Steffen, of course, is an Olympic veteran, just coming off an appearance at the 24 Olympic Games in Paris. And his wife, Shannon, is a very well-respected and talented dressage trainer and businesswoman in her own right. And we're just so thrilled to have you guys. And, we'll just go ahead and get started. We have kind of a list of questions from the Horse Illustrated team that we'll run down, obviously mostly covering horses, your career, training, that sort of thing. But we have a few other little fun things sprinkled in, some things maybe people don't know about you, and all of that. And then we'll also open up the floor at the end to anybody in the audience who may have their own questions. So if everyone, real quick, if you could look at the top of your screen, or if you're on mobile, it might be at the bottom, you should see a Q&A button. If you could send me just a little react button to let me know that you have that, that's where you're going to be able to submit questions later on. You can submit them throughout the meeting. That way, when we open up the floor, they're already there. And yeah, so we'll go ahead and kind of get started. I know both of you have, loved horses pretty much all your life, been a part of the horse industry and loved them from a young age. But on that note, do you remember your first horse or pony? And if so, can you tell us about them?
Yep, mine was Frosty, Frosty. You should call him Frosty the Snowman. He had a little Arabian gelding that I did everything on. Western English trail, costume, all sorts of stuff.
How old were you?
10.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Steffen, what about
you? Same. Yeah, I think I was 6 or 7 years old, and it was a little black Shetland pony. And we just started cruising around in the fields behind a little vacation home that we had, and that's how it all started. My sister got me into it, and but it wasn't just horses. It was always animals in general: dogs, cats, and especially shy animals. I always had the urge to gain the animals' trust, and that still continues today.
Wow, that's really cool. That's really cool. And it's one of those things, I mean, just loving animals, period, like you said, that once it's in your blood from a young age, it kind of just sticks with you. And so what was it that drew you specifically to dressage? And that's for both of you.
I was lucky to, when I moved to college in Colorado, I was lucky to have met a couple of pretty amazing coaches and trainers there, and it just spurred my interest when I got there, and I kind of stuck with it from that point on.
Sure.
And then met my mentor, Carl McCulka, early on in my 20s, and was a part of his life and his training till he passed away a few years ago.
Yeah, it was actually, for me, it was first jumping with the ponies, because that seemed to be more cool than dressage at that time. And then my sister was competing actually with her pony already internationally at European championships and such. And when she turned 17, she had to move on to regular horses. So I got to ride her pony internationally as well one more And that's how the real big pony sport started, with making teams and representing countries. And that's how the switch to dressage came. But it all started with jumping and actually some 3-day eventing in the early days.
Very cool. Yeah, it's kind of funny you mentioned that, because my next question was going to be if there's ever been any other discipline that has intrigued you or that you've tried or thought about trying. But it's, interesting to know that you kind of actually started in some other disciplines and it transitioned into dressage.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's how it started. And then shortly afterwards, when the pony was retired and I turned 17, my dad bought a 3-year-old gelding in Holland. And my sister and I started breaking him. When I got hurt, she got on, and I fell off. She got on. She got hurt. By that time, I recovered again. Then I got on. So we broke him together. This horse was again purchased when I was 17 and my sister was 18. And that's the horse that took me to the Olympic Games in 1996 in Atlanta. Wow. So my sister and I both started him, and he retired in 96. And the neat thing is, my dad, who purchased him, he actually got to see his horse compete at the Olympics. And Dad passed away a year later, but that was a really, really proud moment to know that Dad saw his horse compete at the Olympics and win a bronze medal. That was pretty cool. Yeah,
it doesn't get more special than that. That's like a movie there. So that's really cool. Thank you for sharing that. So kind of moving on to, obviously you two kind of operate your own dressage business. You have Arroyo Del Mar. Can you guys kind of tell us, Shannon, especially you, your role in the design, planning, and upkeep of that facility and your business?
I'm glad you asked, Shannon.
Okay.
We were incredibly fortunate. It was 18 years ago now, I guess, that Lila Kammerstad purchased the property for us. And she was Udon's owner, purchased Udon from his dad before the Olympics. And, we've kind of put our heart and soul into this place for 18 years. And Lila passed away a couple of years ago. And her daughter, Carol, has now taken it over and done just an incredible job on the property with landscaping and remodeling the barn and doing a whole slew of things, incredible things here to make it what it is today. But we're super fortunate to have basically the same staff we started with 18 years ago, the farm staff and our grooming staff, and everyone's been with us that long. So we have a great business here, and everybody is like family to us, and works and takes care of the place like it's their own as well. So it's a pretty great place to be, for sure.
Yeah, and some people come here and think that I'm the boss. That's not the case.
Yep. Hey, there's a reason we have both of you here today, right? Yep. I know it seems like a beautiful, beautiful facility, and I mean, what a lovely location to be in too. So
for sure.
Yeah. So, obviously you both train horses, you both are lifelong horse people. So can you kind of tell us what sort of qualities do you look for in a horse, not just for yourself, but maybe for clients as well?
Yeah. It's very simple. Everybody talks about the temperament, the gaits, the conformation, but both of us, we believe so much in this that we're looking for very, very good rideability in a horse. I've been fortunate enough to ride some pretty amazing stallions in Germany. They had the perfect conformation, but they didn't necessarily have very good rideability, such as a soft connection, a supple top line, supple enough laterally, willing to move forward, willing to come back. So, the bottom line is, I believe I think we speak for both of us, that horses either come with this rideability or they don't. And of course, training can make a huge difference. But we don't want to forget that rideability is a genetic issue as well. And that's what we're looking for. And I really believe horses are born with this rideability or they're not.
Sure. Shannon, would you kind of agree with that's what you look for in a horse?
For sure. I mean, I think trainability, rideability for both of us professionally, but for sure for amateurs, juniors, young riders, you know, that's a primary focus when we're looking for a horse. That's probably the number one thing we look for is trainability and rideability. There's so much can come from that when you have that. When you don't have that, it's always a little bit of an uphill battle in the training.
Yeah, that completely makes sense. And I would agree. A horse either has it or he doesn't. So,
You know, I always say they're just like humans. Some want to do it, some don't want to do it.
sure.
Some have the talent to go all the way to the Olympics. Some are healthy, some are a little bit more fragile. They're very much like humans.
Yeah, they're individuals for sure. Yeah.
Yep.
Do you have any specific favorite dressage movements to train or any favorite aspects of your day-to-day of training a horse?
For myself, I don't think I have any favorite movements to train. I think it's more just the general connection every day, you know, what you can create with the horse every day in a positive and fun way for the horse to learn. And, you know, the movements that come from that are always the bonus, of course. But, you know, I don't think I focus on any one thing or thinking that I love any one thing. I think that for myself, it's just the general connection and the general, you know, what you can accomplish daily, weekly, monthly with the horse in a positive and fun way for both of us.
Yeah, you know, my favorite movements are anything that involves a lot of flow, you know, and some people, Shani's called me sometimes an adrenaline junkie, but it's a flow junkie, you know, for instance, a really nice, beautiful ground covering medium canter, a big floating passage, a medium trot that feels effortless. So this whole idea of being in flow with the horse, in a very, very nice connection where things really show the essence of dressage, and that's the invisible aids. And you know, it's so neat that horses also feel very relaxed and very comfortable when they're in this flow stage, such as a medium canter or even an extended canter. I love that feeling when I feel that pure relaxation from a horse.
Yeah.
Mary, I'm going to interject there. I think Ravel and his half pass.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. His half passes, but also his extended canter, you know, we got many times a 9 and a 10. And that also was Mopsy's highlight. So this whole idea of feeling when a horse wants to go, you can actually relax the leg, and they're just so comfortable and natural in that particular movement. It's a pretty neat feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it kind of just ties into how much you love the sport in and of itself as well, I'm sure. And Shannon, like you said, that connection with the horse, I think that's why we're all here, right? So it's key. Kind of just touched on those two horses, and obviously the horse that you and your sister kind of helped train together and that your dad got to see. For both of you, do you have any horses, and it can be multiple, I know it's hard to choose, that have really stuck out to you throughout your career, and why have they?
I guess for me, it would be Disco, who I'm still riding now. He's going to be 17 this coming year. We bought him as a foal, as a 6-month-old. And I think he's probably been my most fun and my most challenging to train, all in the same token. He's pretty quirky, but he always makes me laugh and makes me smile when I ride him. So I think probably him.
Yeah, and Shanny did all the work herself. She broke him. I mean, I take credit for buying him at the auction in Holland as well, but that's it. Shanny did all the work, and I think that's still amazing nowadays that you bring, in the United States, a 3-year-old horse all the way up to the Grand Prix, and not just to the Grand Prix, but to a CDI level. I think that's amazing. For me, it was clearly Ravel had an amazing career, with the World Cup in 2009, winning Aachen in 2009. So many wonderful memories, but also, any team horse, Udong, Floriano, Lombardi, then came Ravel, and Legolas, Rosie, and then of course Mopsy became the rave horse with with an historical silver medal with Sabine and Adrian. I mean, incredible memories, and absolutely amazing when your horse comes into the arena, into an Olympic arena, and it feels so ready, it feels so right, where you get the feeling they really want to fight for you and win a medal. And to achieve that with another human being is incredible, but to achieve this with a horse, with an animal, where they really want to go for it, I mean, it's an incredible thing, and that's something I don't think I'll ever be able to put in words what that means, and the true value of this.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes back a little bit to what Shannon was saying about at the core of this is that connection with the horse, and to have that relationship with them, and for them to want to give you that, and lead to these great examples or experiences is, like you said, it's very difficult to put a price or a word or anything like that. It's just really special that we're able to do these kinds of things with horses. But of course, you touched on Mopsy becoming rave horse. What was it kind of like to experience, dressage in the sport, and specifically you and Mopsy reaching that level of fame and in the general public's eye?
It was interesting. In Tokyo, we did the sound check for the freestyle, of course, the day before the competition. And then I focused so much on my choreography and the music that I had in mind. And then we drove to the venue the next day, and an hour before the freestyle, I told Haley, Haley, we got the wrong music. And she goes, what do you mean? It's the beginning is the same, but the end is different. And I said, we got to see if we can get the correct music from Terry Gallo. So we called Terry, Tokyo time. It was 4:00 in the morning in Florida, and Terry actually answered the phone and emailed the correct sound file over. And the tower said, no way, this is so close to the competition, we can't change it. And thanks to Hallie and her convincing, kind way, she was actually get the music in. Without that, Mopsy never would have been the rave horse. So it was that close. Wow. For this, it would have never happened. The music was nice that we had before, but I felt the parts that we changed and that made him the rave horse were pretty special. Yeah. So that's how all of this happened. And Mopsy placed in the top 10, but he became more popular with 70 million Google searches than the winning horses. So that, since then he's always been our rave horse. And what a special memory. Honestly, I hope I'm not coming across and that I'm bragging, but I walk through the airports and people look at me and they go, rave horse? Or they go Mopsy. They don't know my name, which is fine. I have no clue, but said, you look like the guy who wrote the rave horse. Yep, that's my boy. So you know, very, very proud moments. It's pretty cool.
Wow. No, that's really cool actually that people recognize you in public and that it reached that many of the masses, because a lot of times that's something that our sport struggles with. So I think it was amazing that it was able to do that. And then of course this year we had Snoop Dogg come by and meet you guys. So just bringing that sort of exposure to you know, equestrian sport, I think is wonderful. And I'm sure it's been wonderful to be, you know, a cornerstone of that.
Yeah, it was actually after Tokyo where Christina, who's Kevin Hart's manager, she called up and she said, "Can you bring Mopsy into the studio up here in Burbank?" And I said, "You know, I'm happy to do that, but you might want to check with your insurance on that." See if that would fly. But the original plan was to put Kevin on Mopsy, and then of course that never materialized. And then Christina said, "You know, somehow we'll get either Kevin or Snoop Dogg to the next Olympic Games," and they did. And it was pretty cool to have Martha Stewart come along with them, and she knew a little bit about dressage, she knew about Mopsy, and had a wonderful conversation. She was actually more into it than Snoop Dogg, but either way, to get this publicity out there and having celebrities like them involved is fantastic for the sport, and it was so much appreciated.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like, you know, the sport's gotten to have those moments to shine and for the general public to just talk about it a bit more. And I mean, even for Martha and Snoop to roll up in the full gear and everything, I think it's shown such a bright light on the sport, and it's just amazing to see.
Yeah.
Kind of a deeper question in regards to the sport of dressage is, do you consider the sport to have changed much over the last decade? And if so, how? And maybe where do you kind of see the future of the sport of dressage going?
Yeah, I mean, I think I feel like probably most people our age, for sure, that the dawn of social media in the last 10 years has been, you know, lots of positives, of course, but also lots of negatives involved with that too. And I think that the sport has certainly evolved. The business has certainly evolved with COVID and with all the things that went along with that. Certainly coming from running a business standpoint, is very much different than it used to be. And I think that's countrywide for sure. But, you know, I think the core of what we do and what I think everyone tries to do on a daily basis is do the best for their horses. And I think that's something that we have to continue to put out there at horse shows, at home training, that there are so many positive aspects to this sport and what we do with our horses and how we care for them and how we train them. And it needs to get back to a little bit the focus of that, you know, not the negative aspects of our sport, but the positive ones. And I think that's pretty important for us to move forward with that.
Yeah, I personally think the responsibility is so much in the judges' hands and the technical delegates at the show. They set the rules, they set the standards. And I personally believe that the sport has changed dramatically after 2008. And we still remember in Beijing, Isabel had a freestyle and her horse was acting up twice. And regardless, she won the silver medal. And I really believe that the judges said, this has to stop. And it did. I really did. I really think it did. The national judging became less. Judging became more fair. The TDs have more authority nowadays to say, hey, listen, let's give the horse a break. Let's get the neck a little bit out there in the warm-up. And this whole idea of really thinking about the welfare from the horse, it has to come from the top. It has to come from the judges. It has to come from the TDs. It has to trickle down from there. And we have to adjust our training techniques if necessary. So, you know, to me, there was even at one point, there was a discussion where we should get a score for the warm-up. And I still believe that that is a very valuable, interesting subject to discuss. I think that would be very valuable and a nice addition to the score. But yes, the sport has changed, I think, clearly for the better. And we just, like Shani said, have to make sure that social media is not blown out of proportion.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's all very good points that we're the ones responsible for, A, first and foremost, how we treat our horses, and B, how, we're able to show the public that. I mean, so much of the horse industry across all disciplines, you hear everything about the social license to operate. And it's just, in this day and age of all this media and being online, that's just key. And we've mentioned it many times already. We're here because we love these horses and we have that connection with them. And it's just key to make that evident. And so the more that we as an industry can center ourselves on that, I think it's for the better and the most important thing we could do.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, getting into some more fun things and the things that people maybe don't know about you. A few people might know this, but Steffen, you have a few hobbies outside of horses, and one of those is aviation. Can you kind of tell us how you got into flying, gliders and model planes and things like that?
Yeah, first of all, it takes a very tolerant wife. So thank you. It's a hobby that got a little bit, excessive with special vehicles and really, really large gliders. But we live in an area where we have an amazing, and actually pretty unique in the world. We have a cliff over here in San Diego. It's called Torrey Pines, and the wind conditions are just amazing throughout the whole year. And again, just being in touch with nature, because all those planes fly without a motor, and you're just flying on ridge lift, thermals. It's just you and nature. It's a fantastic hobby. You can stay airborne with a glider for 2 to 3 hours without any electrical power for the motor or any gas power for the motor. It's an amazing hobby. I'm very passionate about it. And there haven't been too many days lately where I haven't flown. So it's really fun.
That's really cool. Yeah, it's important to have other things that kind of balance out the other, aspects of your life. And was that something that started from a young age, or when did you kind of get into that?
Yeah, my dad started this when I was 7 years old, pretty much at the same time when the horses came into our life. And it started then, and of course electronics have advanced drastically since then. So definitely my dad's influence was there.
Very cool. Yeah.
There's some noise back here. Like, close the door real quick. Hang on.
All right, no worries. Shannon, what about you? Do you have any hobbies that you'd like to spend your time with outside of horses?
Yeah, mostly mountain bike.
Okay.
I used to run as well. I did marathons and that, but unfortunately my knees, I no longer want to do that. So I mountain bike quite a bit.
Very good. Yeah, it seems like, being in beautiful Southern California, especially the San Diego area, kind of is a perfect spot to be, obviously for the weather, but also for your hobbies to, have those opportunities nearby. Yeah.
Yeah.
Another thing, I think Jenny mentioned this to me, Steffen, that you enjoy kind of capturing memories, with videos and photos.
Yeah. Especially nowadays with the drone technology being so advanced, I'd love to get some aerial shots of the farm. I'd love to be out in nature, do a little editing afterwards. Photography and cinematography is a big hobby as well. So, if people are worried about my time in retirement, don't. It's going to be okay.
Yeah. No, it's got yourself covered. But that was kind of one of my other questions. If you had specific things that help you kind of unwind and relax. I know being a horse trainer is not for the weak, and sometimes you kind of need those things. But you know, I'm sure those hobbies, like we said, kind of help bring some balance to your life.
Yeah, for sure. It makes a difference. Absolutely.
Yeah.
This whole idea of decompressing is, you know, is something that I learned way too late. You know, yes, there were hobbies, but there was always in the back of my mind, okay, but there's a horse show next week and there's a horse show in 2 weeks. So I'm guilty of not paying enough attention to the decompressing part. You know, it was a lot of weekly clinics and then back to work Monday mornings. And I'm the first one to admit that, you know, you do pay a price, not so much physically, but I paid mentally a price with, you know, with a ton of anxiety, and we're getting slowly that under control.
Yeah, very good. I mean, it's easy to do, especially when you have a lot on your plate. And like you said, it's always one thing after another, but you know, better late than never to kind of learn those skills and take care of not just your physical health, but your mental health too. Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, the last question I personally have for you guys is a fun one. Obviously the holidays are coming up. They'll be here before we know it. Do you guys have any favorite traditions?
Well, I cook Thanksgiving for anyone and everyone around that doesn't have a place to go. So that's kind of our yearly.
Usually 20 people easily.
Yeah, 20 to 30 somewhere. And our holiday party, our farm holiday party, we always have fun with that. So those are kind of our two things we do. I don't think we have any plans to go anywhere yet this year. So yeah.
But it's the holiday party for a big portion. That's more Shani's deal. I'm doing a clinic in Australia during that time, so that's a little bit more your deal. But I'm going to miss the cooking because honestly, I know Shani 23 years. I haven't had a bad meal since then. And Shani says, well, there's some here and there didn't turn out that well. That's not true. It's never been a bad meal.
That's awesome. You'll have to
And
share
I
some
think you need
recipes
a
with me.
cookbook.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Someday.
Very
Yeah.
cool. Well, thank you guys. I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor to our audience. There should be a Q&A button there. If you guys see that, if you have any questions, if you want to go ahead and type them in, I'll also go ahead and let's see if I can turn on this chat. It might not let me.
If you could do me the favor and read the questions out.
Yes, absolutely.
That'd be great.
Will do.
I have one while you're waiting, Mary.
Sure.
Do either of you have a favorite trick you've taught a dog or a horse?
I always, you know, played with the cookie bucket. So what I did when the horses came out of the arena, I had a cookie bucket in my ATV, and I used to take the bridle off and then teach the horses to walk over to the ATV and open the cookie bucket and basically help themselves. And Legolas learned it, Rosie learned it, and Mopsy learned it.
That's awesome.
And what about the dogs? Or you just let them be?
I don't know if we really ever I mean, they know lots of stuff, but I don't know if we would like anything abnormal. I don't think we've taught them.
We tried to get Betty, our black Labradoodle, to talk for 14 years.
And yeah, it didn't work.
It never happened. She had she had other signals, but that was it. However, Jojo, our new puppy, she's quite vocal. She's got that figured out.
So now you have the opposite.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That's funny. We do have a question from Holly. Did you guys get to explore or sightsee at all in Paris during the Olympics this year?
We did.
We did.
Yeah.
There was one really, really special moment. We went to you went with us to the USA House.
Mm-hmm.
There was a USA House in the middle of Paris, where you have access with your credentials, and all the team clothing is available. There's food available, and you can meet the families there and just hang out for a day. And I walk in there, and there's a bunch of columns in this building, and Shani goes, look, there's Mopsy. So there was this gigantic column with Mopsy's picture on it, and that meant a lot. That was really, really neat to see. But beside that, we went to the Castle of Versailles. We're both not that much into museums, but that was pretty amazing. That was incredibly special. And the neat thing was our hotel was walking distance to the Castle of Versailles. And then when Shani went home, I spent another 3 days after the competition in Paris, and had a pretty substantial Uber bill because of that. But I saw a lot of Paris and loved it. Just absolutely loved it. Great city.
Yeah, what a special place to host the Olympics. And I really enjoyed seeing, all the beautiful architecture and history of that city throughout the games. And I'm glad you got to enjoy it. And obviously there was such a cool dedication to Mopsy. I mean, we just talked about, what an icon he became. And I guess that's further proof of that. So.
Yeah, it was neat.
Yeah. Lisa wants to know your strategy for working with horses who are reactive and behind the leg at the same time when you really want them to enjoy going forward.
I think that is probably one of the most important issues in dressage, to really understand what the leg aid is all about. And to me, it starts in walk. I don't necessarily go to a trot or a canter when a horse is behind me. I try to get a reaction where the horse scoots a moment forward. And then it is so important to understand that we have to leave the horse alone afterwards. That we make a correction and that we guide the horse into a forward motion, and we say, hey, now you do it. And if the horse at that time stops or becomes a little bit lazy again, then I would use that same aid again, but I would make a huge and gigantic effort to completely ease up with the aid afterwards, because it's become such a silly habit for the rider to ride a horse and say, don't stop, don't stop, don't stop. Horses just simply don't care anymore. And when we use this excessive way of driving, and to me, it starts on the lunge line. We see so many horses being lunged, and the lunging person runs around behind the horse, and the person gives a constant driving aid, even on the lunge line. And even there, horses become numb and dull to the forward driving aid. And there are horses that are naturally lazy, but 90% of all horses don't have the proper education to the driving leg.
I would just add to that, I think it's important. I think it's easy to get so focused on arena work with horses. And I think that's also one of the biggest things that back a horse off and make them not want to do the job is so much repetitive in an arena. So I would just add to that horse's natural instinct to go forward on long lines, if it's possible, hacking, not going straight to the arena every day, and getting the horse really wanting to go forward and wanting to do the job on their own. I think that's super helpful too.
Yeah, that completely makes sense. Ian wants to know, do you have a strict diet or training schedule for yourself, taking the horse out of the equation? I know we talked about Shannon's cooking skills.
Yeah, Shani's super disciplined about this.
Yeah, I mean, I think we both have. We both work out. We both have our different training regimes, but I cook super healthy, and we both really are consistent about keeping our weight positive for the horses and keeping strong enough and fit enough and supple enough as we want our horses to be. Same with ourselves, that we're both pretty strict about that, I would say.
Yeah, so for me, mentally, mainly and physically, of course, a nice side effect is swimming. I'd like to go every morning. And recently I've added the sauna to it. I like to warm up in the sauna, then swim, not even that excessively, sometimes 15, 20 minutes. And then you really use this, for instance, the freestyle as a very, very strict breathing exercise. Turns out there's no air underneath the water. So you breathe out underneath the water and breathe in when you're above the water. And it is, to me, mentally a very therapeutic value as well. And I do that pretty much every morning. And sometimes I add a weight session in the afternoon.
Yeah, makes sense. I think that's something that a lot of the general public maybe doesn't recognize about the horse industry is, the humans are indeed athletes too, and we've got to take care of ourselves and our bodies. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it helps so much, core strength and, this basic cardio fitness. It makes a huge difference. And especially at the Olympics level, I think our horses are amazing athletes, and we have to be, at the Olympic level, we have to be athletes as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Speaking of the Olympics, Liz's question is, what's your favorite memory from the Olympics outside of the competition itself? Can be any Olympics.
The experience of the everything. There's such a thing to me as the Olympic spirit. And this is so, the memories are so strong about when your teammates are competing, and with every single step the medal is coming closer. We experienced this in Atlanta, in Rio, and then also especially in Tokyo. And I know the question was outside the Olympics, but this meant so much to me. When all teammates pull together, and with every single step, that medal is coming closer. That is honestly the most valuable and memorable moments out of all of them. But beside that, I have to say all the receptions at the White House was very special, with Bill Clinton after '96, then with George Bush, and President Obama was extremely chatty. He just didn't say hi. He made a point of communicating with every athlete a little bit, and of course mine was age related. And Michelle Obama next to him, she wouldn't just shake the athlete's hand. She gave everybody a hug. And Joe Biden was the vice president at that time, was standing next to Michelle, and he would say, "Hey, pal, how you doing?" This whole experience at the White House, and me being interested in the security dogs, the whole experience was just unbelievable. There's so many absolutely amazing memories from all 6 Olympics.
Yeah, I can only imagine. It's just such a cool life experience, and to have been a part of so many too. I mean, just does multitude of experiences in different cities and countries, and of course, I always hear that from Olympic athletes, that team aspect is just so special. All of you putting in the effort together. So, yeah. Grace's question is, what is one of your favorite dressage freestyle routines that you've had the chance to watch?
Oh, well, I'm going to have to say that it would be Mopsy's. You're going to have to pick someone else.
Yeah, Mopsy's, actually Ravel started this movement going from the canter pirouette to the piaffe.
But do you have anybody else's that you would like to watch?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I can say watching yours, but you're going to say watching somebody else.
I think what Jessie has done is pretty amazing. She, we both are friends with her, and besides that, she's obviously a wonderful person. And watching her ride, I think that really is the essence of dressage, and her freestyles are pretty amazing. And I truly believe she deserved the gold medal in both Tokyo and Paris.
Yeah, it's just I think freestyle is everybody's, if I'm being honest, favorite to watch. And there's just so many special routines out there. And Kim wants to know if you could share a favorite memory about Eddie, your groom.
Yeah, Eddie, we always had a bit of a challenging time with Legolas. It was, no matter how much we trained the one 10-piece, there were always 50-50. Either they were going to happen or not at all. And they happened in all three tests in Rio. And Eddie and I were both big football fans. And when Legolas came out of the Grand Prix and the Grand Prix special, he was making a sign and said, as if he had a touchdown. He said, Legolas is ready for the Super Bowl. And, that's just the kind of guy he is. Everybody knows him. All the other grooms love him. He's so experienced. And just this whole idea of him always having a friendly smile, even after doing 48-hour shifts with flying the horses and then being with them the next day. I mean, what a great guy, and just so fortunate to have people like him with us. It's been 17 years, right?
Almost 18.
Almost 18 years, yeah.
Wow. Well, you mentioned football. This isn't something anybody has submitted, but it is a question that Jenny had in mind. That Shannon, you're originally from Michigan. Are you a Lions fan? And
I am.
Are you excited for how they're doing?
Yeah, the last couple of years they've been doing pretty well, which it's been a long stretch of not doing well. So
Sure.
I have a lot of family there left, and they're all, of course, and actually the Tigers did well this year too.
Yes.
It's been a long time since any Michigan sport has really excelled. So yeah, it's pretty exciting for the state for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And Stefan, what team do you like to root for?
Well, I was pretty heartbroken when the Chargers went to LA, and I tried to make a point of distancing myself, and I still look at the scores every Sunday, and lately I've been doing well. So I still haven't forgiven the owner for pulling the team from San Diego, but if I would pick a team, it would still be the Chargers.
Sure. Yeah, I can understand the mixed feelings there for sure. So, Kelly wants to know, kind of going back to the Paris Olympics, were you able to see Celine Dion perform at the opening ceremonies?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Andel Otzen, I, and Jude, let's see, Calvin with us, and McLean. So the four of us were at the opening ceremonies, and it was absolutely fascinating. Of course, halfway through we got completely soaked, and the water was pretty cold. But then when our ship docked right in front of the Eiffel Tower, you walked honestly just literally 3 minutes to the stadium that they had built in front of the Eiffel Tower. And I didn't know Celine Dion was invited, and watching her sing on top of the restaurant that's the center of the Eiffel Tower, right in the middle, that was an incredible experience. And at that time, it didn't matter how cold and wet we were. It was that all went away. I mean, just what an incredible experience. Probably an opening ceremony that's going to be really, really hard to top for any future Olympics.
Yeah, it was pretty unforgettable. And kind of on that note, I remember seeing selfies with, grades like LeBron James and things like that. What is it like to go to the Olympics and be around these athletes from various other sports that are considered, such legends?
the neat thing is at that time they're so down to earth. Maybe they're always that way, but they're usually more protected. So, you know, we were able to take pictures, and Steph Curry and I had a mutual friend, and talked briefly about that. He was very open, very down to earth. LeBron James took pictures probably with every single athlete on the boat. So incredible, you know, just knowing at that time they're just like any other athlete, and very, very open and very friendly.
Yeah, very cool. And you're a part of that. So it's just so cool to be among such, you know, amazing athletes from all corners of sports. Looks like our last question from our audience is from Madison. What advice do you have for the adult amateur equestrians striving to develop with their horses in dressage?
I'm sorry, to
develop their horses in dressage, yes.
What advice do we have?
I would,
Good.
you know, I think it's pretty much what I mentioned in the beginning, you know, that we look for, you know, rideable horses, not just super talented horses, but really rideable horses, willing horses, and setting very, very realistic goals for every single show. You know, not just saying, well, you know, I've ridden second, third level for a while now, I need to move up. You know, and I think we set ourselves up for disaster at that time. You know, just finding a very, very realistic level each and every year, and showing our horses respectfully to the judges, but also most important with the utmost respect to the horse. You know, and I find when we know and when we're confident in the training, I think that makes it fun at the show. Then we're confident in the warm up, and this whole idea of showing a confident test at the competition. I think that's extremely important.
Yeah, makes sense. Shannon, do you have anything you would add there?
I mean, I think for me, coming from someone who, from a very young age, worked with someone from the Spanish riding school, I think finding a training method, a trainer, something that you align with, that you feel like aligns with your horse, aligns with your goals with your horse and yourself. And, you know, I think every horse wants and desires and strives for consistency. So and that's one of the best things we can do for them is provide a consistent life, consistent training, so that they have an understanding of what they're here with us for. And it gives them a really settled feeling and a really comfortable and confident feeling with riders. I think that's what I would say is to try to really have that basis in your training with your horse.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I think that's all of our questions. So thank you to everybody who joined, and Steffen and Shannon especially. Thank you so much for your time. It's really insightful getting to talk to you guys about, you know, just the wonderful careers that you have had and continue to have, and all the little things in between. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Our pleasure. Thanks for having
Appreciate
us on.
it. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Steph and Shannon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, thank you.